in Persuasion, what needs to be included in copy, how to create your message, talk about some formulas, and also go over some things like formats, microcopy bullets, and headlines. So I'm not a marketer. Why should I learn this? Well, news for you. Everyone is a marketer in some way. Doesn't matter if we're selling a product, a service, or ourselves. We need to be able to convince and persuade people every day. Now, some of the principles that are used in influence, Dr. Robert Cialdini in his book Influence, Science and Practice, which is kind of the work on the topic of influence and persuasion, he comes up with 6 different things that are involved. We have reciprocity. Somebody does something for you, you feel an obligation then to do something for them. That's a lot why there's free samples, or why, you know, the address labels that charities use and things like that, because they give that to you, and then there's a feeling of reciprocity that you're going to want to give back to them. Commitment and consistency. Really, this is about people have a need to be consistent. It's a natural thing that once we start doing something, once we're known as something, you know, we want to stay with that. Of course, I do not want to be known as the guy with, you know, bad Google Hangouts. But so that's another. Social proof. This is extremely important in our online world. Social proof is something we see all the time. It's testimonials. It's the Facebook, you know, the like buttons, and on the website, it's showing the number of shares, because people want to see that, and somebody saying, oh, look, you know, 300 other people shared this. Well, this one is good because I don't want to be alone in what I'm doing. Next, we have authority, which is really, you know, a lot of people want to be told what to do. And this actually gets into a different concept, though, is that a very important thing in persuasion is people like when somebody takes the responsibility off of them. This is what is used in a lot of medication commercials. You know, you'll hear things like, you know, especially you'll hear it in weight loss, antidepressants, things like that. You'll hear, you may be having this problem. It may not be your fault, because we want somebody else to come and take that away from us, take that blame. Next, we have scarcity, which is obviously limiting the number of things. We all want what we can't have, and very common. Now, what's important in the online world is that you are being authentic with your scarcity. Because something you'll see, I mean, I know you see a lot of things, is somebody saying that there's only 100 copies of an ebook available. Obviously, it's a digital product. There's not going to be 100 copies only available. You have to, if you want to say, okay, well, I'm limiting the sale, that's good. But again, you need to make sure that when you're doing scarcity, if you're saying the sales stop at this time, you need to hold to that. Because as soon as people learn that you're not doing it, then you've lost the use of that technique. So very important. And then the final result is liking, or likability. This is why we want to do business and deal with people that we like. Now, a question that I get, scarcity shut up again. Okay, is this ethical? I feel icky doing this. I mean, people, when they hear persuasion, they think of con men, they think of the stereotypical used car salesman. Now, Dave Lakhani, in his book entitled Persuasion, according to him, he says persuasion versus manipulation, they only differ based on the intent of the person who's doing it. So it really is about you and what you're doing. If you're as long as you're doing honestly, then that's persuasion. If you're trying to sell somebody the Brooklyn Bridge or that, then obviously that's more manipulation. But I mean, a lot of people say, persuasion, manipulation, sales, all these things really are the same word when it comes down to it. And if what you're offering is of value, then you're doing somebody a service, and you shouldn't feel wrong or bad about bringing this out to them, and bringing this out to the world. So how do you write so that your audience will listen? Make it about them, not you. So you notice I haven't really done a introduction about who I am, because I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about, what you're going to get out of this tonight. So you have to make it look through. Always go back and read any of your writing stuff. Go back and look at it and say, make sure that you're not talking about what it does for you. Make sure it's about the reader. Use their words. And what I mean by this is, obviously, it depends on everything. A lot of people may be in the market they're doing, but you really need to listen to your audience. Listen and use the words they use. I mean, I was listening to a lecture, recorded lecture from Eugene Schwartz, who wrote Breakthrough Advertising. He was one of the most famous direct response copywriters, wrote for Rodale Books, Boardroom, some of the biggest companies. I mean, he's responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. And, this was years ago it was recorded, but he's even saying then, listen, read what they read. In those days, he's saying that you need to go out and, telling a group full of, male copywriters, you need to read Vogue and Cosmopolitan and Weekly World News and things like that, because if that's what your market, obviously he's talking the broad market, but, nowadays on the internet, we have a lot more advantages because A, it's easier to listen to people because we can actually just go and narrow it down, whether it's, I wrote an article about this, but can go use Amazon reviews is a great place to go look at what people are doing. And you want to look at reviews, look at the reviews that are 2 to 4 stars. Discard the 5-star, discard the 1-star. Look at 2 to 4 and see what people are saying. And you may just want to copy those reviews and put them in a file so you can see the type of words that people in that market, what they're using. Reddit is another place, or other social media. Just make sure you're listening and seeing what the audience, and use their words. Identify the action you need them to take. And it's the action. When you're writing persuasively, when you're writing copy, you need to give people one action. You can't try to have them do multiple things because it's going to take away and they're not going to do it. I mean, I know I've made this mistake myself. For a while I had, in my email signature, I had multiple things going on of, follow me here, follow me here. And then, it's kind of narrowed it down because it's, where do you want it to go? You're not going to have, you can't have multiple people going for it. So you need to figure out the one action you want people to take and make sure they know that. And then don't be afraid to ask for the sale. It's a lot of people get scared. A lot of people don't like to do it. But you need to ask people, and the sale in this terms, it's a general. It could be, It's whether it's a purchase, it's whether it's an email opt-in, whatever that is, the act, I'm saying sale, but it's whatever the action is that you are looking for somebody to take, don't be afraid to ask for it. Ask them. And let them know how to do it. You know, it's like let's picture it. This is actually a picture I took. Local honey for sale. This is outside, on the fence outside somebody's house. But there's nowhere does it say, it's a long driveway. Nowhere does it say, come inside. Nowhere does it tell me any hours. And, you know, it's like I kind of debated, do I go in? I see it's for sale, but I don't know how I'm supposed to buy. I don't know, can I just go up and knock on their door, which is what I tried to do. There was no answer at the time. But make sure people know how you want them to take the action, what you are looking for them to do. Make sure they know it and make sure you're asking them to do that. Okay, copywriters are known for using formulas. There's several of, numerous dozens of them out there. I know Joanna Weeb of Copy Hackers just put out a great post that she said is the ultimate collection of copywriting formulas. And it really is one to bookmark and go back to. A lot of different things. But just want to talk about a few different ones tonight and how they can be used. Okay, so they make it easier to make sure you're covering all the key points. And pass. This is one of my favorites. It stands for problem, agitation, solution. So what you're doing in this case is you're describing the problem. You know, describing what the problem is that your reader is going to be facing. And then you're agitating. You're making the problem worse. You're bringing it to the worst scenarios. And then you're going to explain to them how you have the solution. So it's, you know, very straightforward. Problem, agitation, solution. This can really work with a lot of different things as far as when you're trying to, you know, definitely very good can be, you know, a new customer, you know, landing page. Really just, you know, explain the problem, stir up the problem, and then give them the solution. The SSS is the star, story, solution. And this is a great one because people talk a lot about the importance of story these days. It's become, I know, too much of a buzzword. Everyone's saying, oh, you need the story, you need to tell the story. But it is important. What you do is, in this one, is a great way to implement that. You have the star. The star can be the customer. The star can be another user. The star could be the product. You then tell a story of what the life is like, you know, with that problem, what the issue is. And then you present them with the solution, which is obviously your product. So that's a great one, the SSS, the star, story, solution. And then we have ACA, which stands for awareness, comprehension, conviction, and action. You got to get the person aware of what you have to say. Then make sure that they're understanding what it is. I mean, and this is where, you know, this can be more useful in more your longer copy, or your sales letter, or in your emails, where you're going to be writing a little longer. But the comprehension, the conviction, you need to make sure that they are convinced of this. And then again, we have action, that they need to take action, and you need to make sure that you are telling them how to take that action and guiding them to that action. The right copy for the right place. Headlines. Headlines are one of the most important things, and Eugene Schwartz, who I mentioned before, the headline has one important job, and that job of the headline is very simple. All the headline needs to do is get somebody to read the first line. The first line, get somebody to read the next line. Now, the headline really is what needs to get somebody's attention. This may be where you have the larger letters or human character. I mean, there are sites, if you look at these sites like, BuzzFeed, Upworthy, I'm sure their writers have to write a minimum of 25 headlines for a story before they put it out. So you want to make sure that your headline, if it's an email, we're talking your subject line, is something that's going to get attention. But don't use clickbait as they use on BuzzFeed. Don't do that, because if you want to build a relationship and you're looking for a long-term relationship with your customer, that's not going to do it. But that's just going to have them trust. I mean, people have written headlines, put sex in all capital letters and then go, now that I have your attention. Well, that only works once. People aren't going to believe you again. So, you want to do something that's going to get their attention and get them to want to read on, but make sure that it's something that's legitimate. And there's a lot of headline files out there you can look at. See, I mean, the most famous one you probably see is John Caples with "They all laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play." That's one of the most famous ones that's been reviewed numerous times. Another one is Max Sackheim, who actually started the Book of the Month Club. Did a "Do you make these mistakes in English?" And you'll see that in lots of others. Do you make these mistakes? So there's a lot of things. You want to do something that is going to get somebody's attention and going to get them to stop and read, because we are come across every day thousands and thousands of messages coming at us. But what we don't have is we need to make sure that we're getting their attention. Bullet points. People, when they're reading something, are usually going to be scanning. No one takes the time to stop and read. People are searching to solve their problem. The reason that they're usually willing to pay to solve the problem is they want to save the time of having to figure it out, because most of the knowledge could be found out there for free. But people want to pay because they want to have the fast solution. So what you want to do is break your copy into bite-sized pieces. Make it that people can scan. What you may want to do, go through, make a list of all of, the features and benefits. Here, I'll throw in another formula: features, advantage, benefits. FAB, FAB. Remember, you want to speak in terms of benefits to the customer, not in terms of features. Don't tell them, oh, well, it does this, and this chair has super lumbar support, and this. Say, you are going to be the most relaxed after a long day. But what you want to do is, so those are the things that need to go, those benefits, that's what needs to go into your bullet points. If you're dealing with longer copy, you may want to use, some subheadings, things like that. Depending on how long it is, you may want to also have multiple, calls to action. Be like, are you ready to buy now? Micro copy and button text. Now, this is actually an area that is becoming a little more new area. This kind of this borders between marketing and a lot the user experience, UX side of things on websites. But there's becoming more of a focus on the microcopy, the little words that are on your site. You know, the thing, if you look at, you know, I know Slack, while you're waiting for it to load, has like, you know, I'm using things, and if you use buffer, you know, they'll be like, you know, yeah, another one in the queue, things like that. I'm trying to make it a little more fun, you know, to tell their personality of their brand. So that is definitely one area, is look at the little words that they can make a big difference. The other thing that's really important is on your buttons, especially if you're talking a opt-in, things like that. Give people something that's positive of what they're going to do. Now, like, you also want, especially even on order buttons, if you can. I mean, I know that a lot of us on Gumroad, I know it gives you a few choices of, you know, one of them is, I want this. But that's, you know, a lot, like with the company I work with, MapFig, we have on our order forms, we changed it to start mapping now, so that the person, when they're clicking, they're going with the, what they're going to be doing then. So that's something, you know, you want to keep it something very, especially on buttons, very action oriented, and make it clear what's going on. And it's a good place to show your personality a little, especially, you know, some of the spam, you know, we won't spam you messages, things like that. It's a place that you can show a bit of your personality. And again, it's also in some things, make it clear what you're asking for. Long form versus short form. This is a very much an ongoing debate of how long does the copy need to be. I mean, the classic you know, direct response would be these multiple page sales letters. I mean, some of them 8 pages. I know in the early day of the internet, you'd have the pages that would just scroll, just keep scrolling. Lots of red text, and those were the ones that also usually would tell you that you know, there was only 97 copies available of an ebook. But it really depends on the relationship with the customer, where the copy is, and also where the customer, where your reader is going to be most likely when they're reading that. Is this the type of thing that, you know, you're sending them, and, you know, they're liable to be reading this email on their phone? Well, you know, you're going to want to keep that shorter. If it's a larger thing, the type of thing they're probably going to look at them, you know, it's going to be longer. I mean, it's also going to depend on the relationship you have with your customers, how long you know, they know you. Traditionally, the further out, you know, the colder the prospect, the longer it is, because you really need to sell them more. You need to give them more of the background story and that. So again, Copy Hackers has a great article, long form versus short form. But it really is just going to depend. The concepts are the same. I mean, a lot, you're going to need to have your headline. You're going to need to have your call to action at the end. But where it's going to depend a lot is, again, your relationship with your reader, how far along they are. I mean, you'll see that with the product launch formula. The first few emails will be, you know, long, really selling the advantages, and then before they're about to close the cart, it's really just a short paragraph, you know, hey, you know, there's this much time. Because by that point, they've explained it. They don't need to go into much detail. It's just a matter of pushing those final people over the edge. Well, it takes some questions now. I know that I don't know if I really have the facility, but I'll go in the go on Twitter, see if it's anything. Otherwise, I'll check on the Facebook, since I know it's Digital Product Mastermind. Okay. Well, okay. Again, you can find me at robertwilliger.com. And thank you very much for joining me. And again, robertwilliger.com or at robertwilliger on Twitter. And look forward to talking to you in the future. Thanks again for joining me this evening.